1. Introduction. My name is Donna. I am 33 years old. I work for a big shipping company in the city center. I am very good at my job, which is important for the company. I organize the schedules for many large trucks and the drivers who operate them. This job is difficult because I must plan everything carefully. I have worked here for 5 years now, but my small desk is the same, and my salary is the same. I work late every single day, often until 7 o'clock in the evening. I feel tired of working late without any recognition for my effort. I know I am ready for a bigger role. I am ready to be a manager. My boss is named Albert. He is 40 years old. He is a very tall man with dark hair. Albert always wears expensive gray suits and shiny shoes. He is usually serious, quiet, and very professional. Today, I decided I must speak to him about my future. I walked to his office door. My hands were shaking because I felt nervous. I knocked once on the heavy wooden door. He told me to enter. I stood in front of his big, clean desk. I looked at him. He looked back at me over his small silver glasses. I took a deep breath. I spoke clearly. I said, "Albert, I need to talk to you about my career here. I want the promotion to senior supervisor. I have worked hard for 5 years." Albert did not speak for a few seconds. He looked very thoughtful. Then he smiled a small, unusual smile. He said, "That is a serious matter, Donna. We should discuss your skills and the new position, but we cannot have this conversation here in the office. It needs more time." I was very surprised by his answer. He continued, "I want to invite you to dinner tonight. We can discuss the matter fully then." I felt very strange about this invitation. It was not the normal way to discuss promotions. I felt nervous about meeting my manager outside of the workplace. However, I understood that this dinner was my only chance for the promotion I wanted. I needed the job and the money. I decided to take the risk. I said, "Yes, Albert, thank you very much. I will meet you tonight." Albert gave me the name of a nice restaurant near the river. I left his office quickly. I felt excited about the possibility of success, but also very nervous about the evening ahead. I hoped this meeting would change my life for the better. 2. The dinner. I arrived at the restaurant. It was a small, beautiful Italian place. The lights inside were low. There were candles on the table. I saw Albert waiting for me. He looked very different tonight. He wore a blue shirt without a tie. He did not wear his expensive gray suit. He looked younger and more relaxed than he did in the office. He smiled at me. He told me, "Relax, Donna. Order whatever you want." I felt nervous, but his smile helped. We ordered some food and 2 glasses of red wine. The conversation did not start with work. We did not talk about truck schedules or deadlines. Instead, we talked about other things. We talked about books we liked to read. We talked about places we wanted to visit. Albert spoke easily. I saw that Albert was a funny man. He was also kind. I drank the red wine. I felt warm and happy. The atmosphere became very comfortable. The candles flickered softly on the table. I looked at him again. I realized something new. I did not see my strict manager anymore. I saw a handsome man sitting across from me. This feeling was new and strong. The restaurant was busy, but our table felt private. We talked about his travels to Europe last year. He told me funny stories about trying to speak French. I told him about my big family and my dream to write a book one day. We laughed often. The time passed very quickly while we ate. The food was excellent. The red wine made me feel warm inside my body. I finished my first glass and then my second glass. Albert was easy to talk to. I watched the small flame move on the candle wick. The sound of people talking around us was low and pleasant. Albert asked me many questions about myself. He seemed truly interested in my answers. I had never felt this connection with him at work. I forgot that I was nervous about asking for a promotion. I forgot about the office and the company rules. Tonight, it was only Albert and me. I felt very happy sitting there with him. It was a successful dinner, but not for the reasons I first thought. The dinner was changing my view of Albert completely. 3. The cold night. We walked out of the restaurant and onto the street. The air hit my face. It was very cold and I shivered a little. We had spent hours inside. The restaurant felt warm and comfortable. Now we were outside in the late night. We walked slowly together. We did not talk much. We reached the place where Albert parked his car. We stopped walking. We stood next to the black car, and the street was very quiet. There were only a few street lights shining yellow light on the road. The silence between us felt heavy. It was a different kind of silence than the one in the office. This silence was full of thoughts and feelings. I looked at Albert. He looked different than he did earlier. He was not just my boss anymore. He looked straight at me. He looked deep into my eyes for a long time. I could feel my heart starting to beat very fast inside my chest. It felt like a drum beating quickly. The professional wall between us, the barrier that kept us focused only on work, began to disappear completely. He took one small step closer to me. I could smell his cologne. He spoke quietly, his voice low. "Donna," he said, "you are a very smart woman." I felt a smile come to my face. This felt good. I wanted to hear more. Then he added, "And you are beautiful tonight." When he said that, my knees felt weak. I knew this was a dangerous situation. I knew the rules of the company. Albert was my manager. We worked together every day organizing truck schedules. If someone found out about this, it could be a very big problem. It could be a scandal, and I could lose my job. I had worked hard for 5 years for this company. I should have stepped back. I should have told him good night and walked away fast. I should have protected my career and followed the rules. But I did not. I stayed right where I was, standing next to his car in the cold air. I ignored the clear rules that the company had written down. I ignored the worry about the future. I ignored the risk. Why? Because the attraction was too strong. I felt a powerful pull toward him. I did not want to leave. I wanted to stay there, close to Albert, the man who was suddenly charming and kind, not just the strict manager who wore expensive suits. I looked at him one more time. The cold night felt very warm now. For the kiss, Albert reached out his hand. He touched my face gently. I leaned my head into his warm hand. He lowered his head slowly. Then he kissed me. It was a long, slow kiss. I closed my eyes immediately. The world stopped spinning around us. I felt only his lips and his arms. The kiss felt wrong because Albert was my manager. It felt like a bad idea for work, but my heart felt happy. The chemistry between us was very strong. It was a powerful feeling. He pulled away a little bit. He looked at me with serious eyes. He whispered softly, "Come with me now." I knew I should go home to my apartment. I knew this situation was very risky for my job. I thought about the company rules for a second. I knew I should follow the rules. But my feelings were much too strong to ignore. I wanted to be close to Albert. I decided to forget the danger. I chose the risk over safety. I nodded my head once. I wanted to go with him. He smiled faintly. He walked to the passenger side of the car. He opened the door for me. I got inside the vehicle. The leather seats were cool under my body. He closed the door without making a sound. He walked quickly to the driver's side. He started the engine immediately. We drove away from the restaurant street. We drove toward his apartment building. We did not speak any words. The silence in the car was heavy and thick. The air was full of unspoken thoughts. The atmosphere was electric. It was like energy was moving all around us. I felt very nervous, but also very excited. I looked out the window at the dark city lights. I knew this night would change many things. 5, the apartment. They arrived at the apartment. Albert opened the door. The inside was very nice. It looked clean and modern. The walls were white, and the furniture was simple and dark. There were big windows with a great view of the city lights. Albert played some soft jazz music. The sound was quiet and peaceful. He offered Donna a drink, but she said no. They walked to the big sofa in the living room and sat down together. They began to talk. They talked about their lives before the shipping company. They shared old stories and personal secrets. They spoke for many hours, forgetting the time completely. Donna learned much about Albert's childhood and his dreams outside of work. Albert learned about Donna's family and her hopes for the future. They spoke easily, like old friends who had just met again. The atmosphere changed again. The feeling between them became stronger. It was not just a physical attraction that brought them here. It was also an emotional connection. They felt a real bond. Donna felt she could trust him completely. She felt very comfortable with him now. The professional barrier between the boss and the employee was completely gone. They stopped talking and looked at each other in the soft light. Albert smiled warmly. They moved closer on the sofa. They kissed again. This kiss was full of strong feelings and passion. It was much deeper than the kiss outside by the car. Donna felt like she had known him for a lifetime, not just 5 years as colleagues in an office building. The night continued. Donna decided to stay. She did not think about work or the company rules anymore. She only thought about Albert and the moment they shared. They held each other close throughout the night. Donna slept in his arms. She felt very safe and happy in this private moment. It was a special night, one that she would never forget. She felt calm and cherished until the morning light started to appear. 6. Waking up. The next morning, bright sunlight entered the apartment. The light woke Donna up slowly. She opened her eyes and looked around the big room. Everything looked clean and very modern. She felt warm and comfortable for a moment. She remembered the night before and the strong connection she felt with Albert. Then, she saw something on a chair near the window. It was Albert's expensive gray suit. Seeing the formal suit was like a sudden shock to her system. She remembered who Albert was in the professional world. He was not just a handsome man, he was her manager, her superior. A wave of pure fear and panic hit her immediately. She sat up fast in the large bed, her heart beating quickly. This is a huge mistake, she thought immediately. The company rules were very clear about relationships between managers and employees. She had completely ignored these rules. She worried deeply about the consequences of her actions. If anyone at the office found out about last night, she knew her career could be destroyed. She had worked hard for 5 years to build her position. She could easily lose her job and her reputation. This terrible thought made her stomach hurt. Albert was still sleeping peacefully next to her. Donna jumped out of the bed quietly and quickly. She knew she needed to leave the apartment right now before they had time to talk. She found her clothes and began to get dressed very fast. Her hands were shaking slightly as she tried to put on her shirt and pants. Every second she stayed felt dangerous. Albert started to wake up because of the movement. He opened his eyes and smiled warmly at her. His smile was kind and tender, but Donna could not smile back. "I must go, Albert," she said, her voice quiet and urgent. "I have to leave right now and get to work." Albert looked confused by her sudden panic. He sat up quickly and watched her move. "Donna, wait. We can talk about this," he said, trying to reach for her hand. Donna shook her head firmly. "No, We work together. This cannot happen again. It is too risky." She did not look at him fully because she was too scared. The romantic feeling from the night before was completely gone, replaced by strong fear and anxiety. She grabbed her bag quickly and walked fast to the apartment door. She opened it and stepped out onto the hallway. She left Albert's apartment building without saying another word. She felt very confused, scared, and very alone as she walked away on the cold street. 7. Back at work. I arrived at the office 1 hour later than usual. I tried very hard to look normal as I walked quickly to my desk. My face felt hot, and my hands were shaking a little. I sat down and looked at my computer screen. I could not focus on my work. I thought constantly about the night before. I was worried about Albert. He was my boss, and I felt a deep fear about the mistake I made. I knew I should not have gone home with him. The office was busy, but I thought everyone was looking at me. When someone walked past my desk, I jumped a little. Every time the telephone rang loudly, my stomach hurt. I felt paranoid. I thought, do they know my secret? I remembered the company rules about managers and staff. I thought, did I ruin my career for only one night? I tried to drink some water, but my throat was dry. I looked at the clock many times. The hours moved very slowly. It was a terrible morning, full of fear and regret. The clock finally showed 2 in the afternoon. Suddenly, my internal phone rang loudly. It was Albert's secretary. She said, "Donna, Mr. Albert wants to see you now. Please go to his office." My heart started to beat very fast in my chest. My stomach hurt even more than before. This was the moment of truth. I knew I had to go immediately. I stood up slowly from my chair. I walked across the office floor. The walk felt very long and difficult. I tried to breathe deeply, but it did not help my nerves. I knocked softly on his big wooden door. "Come in," Albert's voice said. It sounded cold and professional, not like the man I knew last night. I opened the door and walked inside the large office. I closed the door behind me carefully. Albert was sitting behind his large, clean desk. He did not smile at all. He looked very serious and formal. He wore his expensive gray suit and his glasses. He looked exactly like the strict manager again. "Sit down, Donna," he said. His voice was firm and serious. I sat in the chair in front of the desk. I looked at the floor for a moment, waiting for him to speak first. I was ready for the worst news possible. I thought he would fire me immediately because of the risk we took. Maybe he would tell me that the promotion talk was completely over. He just looked at me with a serious face. I prepared myself to quit my job before he could even speak the words. The silence in the room was very heavy and uncomfortable. I waited for him to start talking about the night we shared together. 8. The paper. Albert looked at me. He was very serious. He did not speak immediately. He took a white piece of paper and pushed it across the large desk toward me. I looked down at the paper. My hands started shaking a little bit. I was afraid of what the paper might say. I saw the words written clearly at the top of the page. It was a contract. It was an offer for the job I wanted, the senior supervisor position. My heart felt like it stopped beating for a moment. I could not believe what I was seeing. I waited for Albert to speak. Albert started to talk. His voice was firm and clear. "You earned this promotion, Donna," he said to me. "You work harder than any other employee in this company. You are excellent at your job." He explained that he had finished the recommendation for me 2 days ago. This was before we went to dinner together. This was before the night we spent at his apartment. I suddenly understood everything. I had been so worried. I thought I only got the job because of the time we shared outside of work. I thought my promotion was part of a secret deal. But Albert told me the truth. My success was based only on my hard work and my professional skills. It was not because of him, or the dinner, or the kiss. This realization made me feel very strong inside. I did not need help from anyone to succeed. I achieved this goal by myself. I felt tears begin to fill my eyes. They were tears of great relief and happiness. I quickly took the pen from the desk. I looked at the paper one more time. Then, I signed the contract for the senior supervisor position. It was a wonderful moment. I was finally moving forward in my career. I had worked for this moment for 5 long years. Albert watched me sign the paper. When I finished writing my name, he stood up slowly. He walked toward the window of his office. He reached out and closed the blinds. Now the room became dark and private again. The serious look of the boss disappeared from his face. He smiled. It was the same charming smile he gave me at the Italian restaurant. He walked back to the desk slowly. He leaned closer to me. His voice was now soft, not professional. "The business part is finished now, Donna," he whispered. "We should celebrate this important promotion tonight." He looked at me with a question in his eyes. "Are you free to go to dinner with me again?" I smiled back at him. I had my promotion. I knew I earned it fairly. We still had a secret relationship, but I felt much more confident now. "Yes, Albert," I answered. "I would love that very much." I stood up from the chair. I felt like a new, successful person.